So, I'm not a trained vet. I'm a pretty basic one. But does Dolly have hard pad, babe? She's got this old. I was going over and I was reading up on the symptoms earlier on. Go over, Dolly. And she's got this. Oh, God's sake. Get over there. Look. She's got this old deformity on her paw. Where is it in the picture? Is it showing? Really, this one. There. I think it's in shot. It's too bloody dark to see a damn thing. Look, it's all. The others. Oh, okay. It's that old potato diet. That's not distemper. It's just the corn. Probably true. There's another flea though. Shit. But I read. I know I read early on in old Crankbox. I was reading Old Cranky Juliet. How I'll put this flea in this old jar. Sometimes distemper can give symptoms like fucked in the head, like follicular mange. So there's another flea. Shit's gone. But she's eating, and it goes in stages apparently, distemper. So there's like a second stage to it, and they could get a second temperature. And she did have a bit of a temperature. She's not had any, and she's had that fennel soup, hasn't she, today, which is digestive, and the other day. Not that she's had any upset stomach, but she's just had these old scabs, these old potato scabs. I think she's got potato blight, babe. Lovely. Crams. I was wondering, do you know what? Talk about basic vets. Talk about tarot vets evolve. I was thinking about those broken glasses today. Because Mario, there's another one. Look. It's an old cat flea on her hard pad. He broke an orange glass, so I was wondering if that was monkeypox because it was an orangutan one. That's not how veterinary care works. Well, I wondered. Anyway, there's another flea. That's free. We've just caught while we've been back. And they don't know where distemper comes from. Maybe it's from fleas, because that flea was just on our hard pad and the universe is trying to help us discover it. And maybe it comes from horses, because she's got that horse patch on her tail. Not really, they said. Maybe they get bitten by mosquitoes. Because horses are around all swampy things, aren't they? I don't know. There's another flea. Old barley mats, old foxes. Well, horses get old hoof rot, don't they? Fern mouth? It's nothing like it, they say. Oh, she's got scabs on her foot as well. I just gave her some honey. She must have known. That's why she ate that whole jar of honey the other day. So a bloody flea, god damn it. What did she say about Distemper? Do you want me to read it through? Can't you get this bloody book anyway? Mark won't let you buy it. You don't have time. Oh, not everyone can read. Right, that's a fairly useful thing. Right, let's read it then. Let's go. I've got 30 minutes. Right. Let's see. Distemper. Formerly, I wrote, this is on page 171. Formerly, I wrote a 100-page book on the prevention and cure of canine distemper. This was included in its entirety in the complete herbal book for the dog. Distemper in dogs is prevalent in most countries where the domestic dog is bred and dates back to the earliest centuries, and yet the cause of the disease has never been proved. Canine distemper is described in most veterinary medicine books as being virulent, highly contagious ailment, which is frequently accompanied by serious nervous complications. That is the orthodox description, resulting from unnatural treatments with sera, chemical drugs, and incorrect invalid diet, incorrect invalid diet, anyway, that word. For my part, using simple herbal treatment, including fasting, I have found distemper easy to treat, speedy to cure, and devoid of any after complications. Testimonials worldwide, written in many languages, will uphold this statement, that many breeders who have entire kennels wiped out by canine distemper, and many owners who have lost their pets over frequently from distemper, are seeking the herbal treatment that has been proved by large sales of this herbal book in the countries in which it has been published: England, Australia, Switzerland, Germany, Holland, USA, and Switzerland, blah, blah, blah. The veterinary profession in most countries generally accepts nervous disorders as the usual accompaniment of distemper, and yet out of the same 1,000 cases of this disease I've treated, less than a dozen have developed nervous disorders, and every one of those dogs, the disease has been in the highly advanced stage before coming to me for treatment. I've never had a case developed either chorea or paralysis. What then can the reason be for nervous disorders being prevalent in one treatment and absent following a different one? I am convinced, and I have proved countless times, the main cause of nervous complications is the unnatural practice of giving food to invalid dogs where high fever is present, i.e. temperature around or above 103 Fahrenheit. During fever, all normal processes of digestion are suspended. All of the body forces being concentrated on fighting the bacteria which are causing the fever condition. Food given at such a time poisons the entire system and seriously impairs the animal's power to conquer disease. This is feed a cold, starve a fever, isn't it? That's an olden days thing. Feed a cold, starve a fever. So if you have a fever, you don't eat. If you have a cold, you just eat and eat and eat and eat it through. In most cases, the dog will put a frantic struggle against the forced feeding, but occasionally nervousness caused by the fever will induce a dog to eat up the food given to it. When, as frequently happens, forced feeding through the mouth proves impossible because the dogs struggle against this, the hypodermic syringes used and such unnatural substances as brandy, salines, and even blood are injected into the animal's fevered body. If a dog does recover from such treatment, it is usually left permanently nervous, in poor condition, and very susceptible to skin condition diseases. The normal health balance of the body having been destroyed permanently. Then there is the further unnatural treatment of serum injections. The antibodies of the serum being supposed to aid the blood corpuscles fighting in bacteria causing the disease. These shock injections into a disease-weakened body will often abate the cleansing process of the case, and mucus discharges will cease abruptly. The temperature drops to normal and the animal is considered cured, where in truth the ailment has merely been suppressed, driven deeper within the body. After a week or so, it is common for the temperature of the serum cured case to soar up again, and then invariably nervous disorders swiftly follow, with violent fits or paralysis. These symptoms are in turn suppressed by sedatives, and the dog then indeed passes beyond the possibility of cure, and he usually has to be destroyed. Nervous disorders, nervousness can be cured by herbs, but they have proved difficult to cure when resulting from the unnatural treatments described above. Symptoms of distemper are typical and easy to recognise. The husk is its old-fashioned name, alluded to the persistent dry cough usually present with the disease, yet in some cases there is no cough at all. Beads of pus form at the corner of the eyes, and the eyes themselves are suffused with blood, especially the whites, the inner lids being inflamed. The nose is hot and dry, and the disease progresses. The eye discharges becomes copious. There is also a similar discharge from the nostrils. The mouth smells fetid, the eyes turn very bloodshot, and often diarrhea is present. The temperature next rises rapidly, and with this the dog becomes very listless and troubled and seeks a dark place in which to hide itself. Food is refused, and there's often much shivering. She's not had any of those symptoms, so... Treatment. The dog must be fasted immediately. An internal cleansing diet must be isolated in a quiet, warm place with a window sufficiently open to admit fresh air day and night. Oxygen being very important in this disease. All the lung complications will develop. If the dog is being treated in a kennel, there should be a deep hay. She says about what she's saying. The mouth and teeth should be cleansed morning and night using dilute lemon juice and a teaspoon of pure juice of water. It is advantageous if the dog also swallows some of this lemon water. Give several tablespoons each morning. Eyes and nose should be cleansed of mucus at least 3 times a day using cotton swabs dipped in an infusion of any one or a mixture of the following herbs: rosemary, elderflowers, chickweed, speedwell balm. Any soreness of nostrils or eyes should be treated with an application of pure almond oil. Honey water should be given. If the dog will not take this, then give plain water and roll thick honey into small balls pushed down the back of the throat at what would have been meal times, if the case were not fasting. Honey does not tax the digestion in any way, being pre-digested by bees when in the hive. It is absorbed immediately into the bloodstream. She's had a spoonful of honey today because of her skin, actually, and I thought she hadn't eaten food, but she has. So she's had boiled potatoes and that old mouldy old fennel soup. When the fever has ended, the dog can be immediately taken off an internal cleansing treatment, and the natural rearing diet followed instead. During this treatment, the dog should be taken outdoors sufficient times to relieve itself. The movement of limbs is beneficial. Also the change of air. And I was saying to my son yesterday, this goes back to walk off the drop, don't drop off the walk. And he said, what do you mean? It's like, well, if you're feeling a bit flat or whatever the drop, go for a walk, because it helps to, it cleanses the lymphatic system, doesn't it, if things are moving around, or do a bit of yoga. And I never sort of went off into one of those conversations about being one of those funny things. It's like walk off the drop, so I just go walk off the cliff. But it's not, it's walk off the drop. If you can drop by someone, do you know what? If you want to come down, just walk it off. I walk a lot. But this is the thing, it helps cleanse the lymphatic system. I did say to him, if you're dying on your arse, then you know what, you can't maybe walk it off just. But that's the reason behind it. Some exercise helps. There's a low game barrier. When the fever's ended, the dog can be immediately taken off the internal cleansing treatment and the natural rearing diet follows instead. During this treatment, the dog should be taken out if diarrhea persists after the fever's ended. Tree bark preparation to the milk. That's slippery elm, which you can get in Holland Bowers and places like that. Kate Lurchling was always preaching on about slippery elm. I've never used it, but she swore by it. For people as well, not just for dogs. I get some in. Throughout Distemper treatment for at least 3 weeks or more, the dog's temperature should be taken night and morning. Use a clinical thermometer of the stub, not finely pointed kind. The whole dietary regime of the case is dependent on temperature readings. Suggested time for honey, etc. 8, 12 and 7 p.m. If the 8 a.m, 12 noon and 7 p.m. If the case seems exhausted, fresh grape juice or bottled or packet grape juice, the unpasteurised kind can be given, or apple juice, fresh or bottled, can be given. Average dose of juice for a cocker-sized dog will be 2 tablespoons morning and night. Distemper complications. If disease is treated in its early stages, there will be no complications beyond the slight disability of a cough, discharging eyes and nose, bouts of diarrhea and some fever. The dog will keep well, and the disease will generally have run its course, and the case be cured within 3 weeks. In fact, it should be a general rule that any sign of off-colour in a dog, i.e. listlessness, lack of appetite, abnormal sleepiness or shivering, should be treated immediately by fasting and generous use of antiseptic herbs. She's not listless, is she? Not really. You saw her shooting around the other night. That's not a dog that is considered unhealthy. She's just got a scabby paw. But if first symptoms have been neglected, or the case is very inbred from weak stock, or has been vaccinated recently, then any of the following complications could occur, and some of them are severe and dangerous to life. These distemper complications are nervous disorders, including chorea, fits, paralysis, meningitis, chronic diarrhea, jaundice, pneumonia, pleurisy, bronchitis, deranged heart, ulcers of the eyes and mouth, eye keratitis, and more. See treatment for all these ailments in this chapter. Then there's Reader's Report on distemper skin. There's loads. This is just how different people have treated it. This was, a bad outbreak of hard pride, which lost 14 animals. The change was not easy. My face was very strong. Constant I returned to all methods of drugs and inoculations with me for many months. However, I persisted, as you know, and the results were beyond anything I'd hoped. During the next 4 years, with a basic stock of nevertheless 25 adults facing at times to 80 dogs in the kennels, I lost only 2 animals, and those 2 accidents and not illness. During these years, using any your method, I cured a newly purchased English bitch of hard pad. She was never isolated from the other stock and was the only case. Bored, if such a thing is possible, with the never-ending good health of my own stock, and still not quite persuaded that the lack of illness was due to the treatment and feeding and not to my good luck, I began to search for sick dogs from other kennels and had among other cures a great success of curing a bitch of bad chorea of the head and front legs by fasting and then raw meat, seaweed powder, etc. She's now winning CAs in France. Verena has bred some good stock. We went through a local epidemic of hardpad which destroyed many dogs and thawed in the barn. Bane? Bane, that's what I say it. Thornlow Bane. Without one case in the kennels, and this in spite of the fact that many of the farmers and sportsmen, having heard of this method used in the kennels, would arrive with their dogs, bringing them onto premises in all stages of the disease. I think perhaps you realised my faith in natural rearing and complete absence of fear when you bought your travel companion Afghan 2 years ago. What was that? I saw the thing about the something hunt releasing an animal into a pack of hounds. What did they release? A cat? dysentery, dropsy. Following the treatment, honey and water, fasting, garlic. A little of Beagle, seriously ill, made a wonderful recovery from distemper. Also, Uncockabitch, which has been suffering from skin trouble for 2 years, made a rapid recovery. The treatment has given every satisfaction, and I'm getting fine results. Sam was happy. Had been digesting nothing before having the slippery elm powder gruel as prescribed. Now, all is perfectly digested, and she's making excellent progress. Later, Crufts, 1953. Since using your herbal treatments in the early 1930s, I have much time in which to fully test all your advice. I am more convinced than ever before, and follow strictly the above advice in all your books. See also my new books, The 3 Virus Ailments of the Modern Dog, Distemper, Parvovirus, and Rabies. All the way up to 21 minutes. I don't know the brood bitch. Not yet. Rye, this is an excellent spirit change, but the rye used must be whole grain. In its outer coat, it contains fluorine responsible for the formation of good tooth enamel and strong nails, being low in carbohydrates and fat content. It's a good food for overweight dogs. It's also good for miniature toy breeds, as it keeps them tiny. It's best fed as rye wafers, obtainable in packets from food stores. Oh, fuck me, barley. I've not even read this. Let's go this. Barley. This is a great aid in dog rearing because of the medicinal properties. Apart from its considerable food value, it's rich in antacid magnesium. It's indeed the most alkaline of all the cereals. It's an excellent blood cleanser and blood cooler in the hot weather. The Arabs chose barley as the principal cereals for their fine Arabian horses and greyhound salukis. The soothing property of barley flour makes it of value also for external use. And a poultice of barley flour was once a well-known remedy in Old English and French homes for treatment of skin ailments. Barley is also a good kidney remedy, and drinks with barley water to be given daily in kidney disease and ailments of the bladder. I didn't know that. Barley. I know barley waters. Linseed's good as a nerve tonic, nerve and hair tonic. That's flax, linseed. But it's a hair stimulant and general massage aid, but linseed cake should be avoided as merely the compressed residue of seed after valid oil has been removed. Linseed must be prepared carefully. I was talking to the woman when I got the linseed oil about that whole thing about walnut oil being used to preserve, not to feed wood, because it doesn't go fetid. And it was her who said, oh yeah, well they use linseed oil as well. I was like, actually you're right, aren't you? Linseed oil is used to feed wood because of the brain being fat, and with other fats, I'm just circumnavigating to the fact that they make fatify in the same way. I'm using that word. Whereas linseed and walnut oil, if they don't, may be better. So if things that go to the brain, of course, like fitting and things like that, it would make sense, I suppose, to use an oil that's not gonna do what. So there we go. There's loads. Just get the book. You won't eat off the floor. It's a French peasant book, Dave. Buried meat. The meat must be free from all flies, for otherwise these will hatch out, even after deep burial. and will spoil meat. The fly blown all the eggs must be scraped off carefully, and the cleansed meat then patted over the swab of cotton dipped in vinegar. The eggs are seen in patches on the meat, a crowd of minute elongated white specks. If the eggs have actually hatched into maggots, no need to throw the meat away. It can be cleansed of the maggots by vigorously sluicing down with water. Then rub the meat briskly with vinegar and finally pat in a little salt. Fly maggots should not, of course, be eaten by dogs, because the bluebottle or blowfly, which lays the eggs on the meat, especially seeks out the rotting flesh, may well carry disease from its feet and body touch on the meat or through its maggots. The pit dug should be a deep one with sufficient coolness during hot weather, and the floor lined with tree branches or slabs or stones. Tree branches or stone slabs should be placed over the meat before replacing the soil. This will protect the meat from over-soiling. Not that a little soil matters when it's clean. This burying method keeps the meat well and also ripens it. A gypsy told me how his people ripen apples, wild crab apples, by digging pits in the ground, lining the pits with straw, and placing the apples therein. Apples can be kept for months this way. The pit area should be in the tree shade, preferably, and must be marked with a stout stick. Otherwise, it may be difficult to find. An uncorked bottle half filled with turpentine placed on the buried meat area gives a strong smell and helps in keeping the insects from finding the buried meat. This may read like a lot of trouble, but far less trouble than washing greasy food dishes and pans, resulting in the cook's meat feeding and nursing diseased animals, also reluctant from such feeding. Stonehenge, the great British canine writer of ancient times, advocated giving raw flesh a coat of whitewash and hanging it in the shade of a tree in order to preserve it. He stated that flesh so treated would keep edible for a month or more. Flesh may be kept for a long time, even in the summer, by brushing it over with a quicklime wash or dusting with the powder, and then hang it up in the trees with thick foliage. In this way I've kept the shank ends of legs and shoulders for a good 6 weeks in the height of summer, and in the winter for 3 months. You know what? I'm vegan. Alternative worm treatments. Disease, fine powder, worm, ashes. I'm nearly done 30. There's loads anyway. I don't know what she said about potatoes. I read it one bit though. Potatoes and honey, and that's what I've done. It's probably not even that, is it? She was on a twitch early on. Rhubarb disease, see hepatitis. Hepatitis. Can't be bothered. Encephalitis, see half. That's a brain thing, isn't it? That's a swollen brain. Herb Robert? What do you use Herb Robert for? 285. I have to go. 285. Do you know what's in there? Herb Robert goes everywhere. 285, 285, 285. decide not to have it in the house now. It brings a death. No. Here we go. What's this? Fresh greens. Okay. Fresh green leaves rinse dust off, so put directly onto the weeds and have them close with cold water down around them.